So I think we're missing the entire point here, which is the difference between Twitter 1.0 and X, called Twitter 2.0, Elon's Twitter. Twitter 1.0 wasn't just canceling shows. There were no shows, by the way, on Twitter 1.0. They were deleting accounts. They were deleting the voices of people. They were stopping you from speaking. They were deboosting your content. They were making it so people couldn't find you or you couldn't grow on the platform. I was one of those people. I'm in the Twitter files. So is Charlie Kirk. So there's a bunch of other people. They banned the sitting president of the United States who had 88 million followers at the time. It's totally different to say I'm in a business relationship with you and I decided this business relationship doesn't work. Elon Musk does that all the time.
These were huge stories that were flatly wrong. No, you're shaking your head. That's not wrong.
The official position of the NIH or the government was not that if you get vaccinated, you will never transmit it and you will never get sick. I know that there is the one quote that people, yes, I'm aware that there's the one quote, but for anybody that honestly followed any of that.
So this is an interesting debate because Dave Smith, Benny Johnson, and Destiny all tend to agree when it comes to RFK Jr. at first. But then as the conversation progresses, Dave Smith makes a move and clowns Destiny like the clown that he is. And with all the news revolving around RFK Jr. potentially joining Trump's team tomorrow, I found this relevant to bring up and delve back into. So let's go ahead and check it out.
I just want to pivot, if I can, Dave, with you to RFK Jr., who I know you've interviewed recently. He's a very interesting character. I mean, I've interviewed him several times now, and I find him very interesting. I think he's a really charismatic, experienced guy. He seems to wind up all the right kind of people. Clearly serious, and he comes from a serious political family. And he's raising money, and he's got popularity. What do you think of his significance in this race, if he has any?
Well, I agree with you. I mean, I think he's a very impressive person, and he's very smart. I mean, look, he's a guy who you want to listen to who can't speak. So that's pretty impressive. He makes people he's going on a national speaking tour and resonating with millions of people. And he has major issues speaking. And you can get past that because he's just got interesting things to say. Yeah. I got to say, I do think that for whatever reason, his position on the war in Gaza has just totally ruined his campaign. And all you have to do is run the counterfactual here. I mean, imagine he had come out against that war and against U.S. support for it. Right now, 50% of Democratic voters call it a genocide. In other words, they believe that Joe Biden is funding and facilitating a genocide. There's also a good amount of non-interventionists on the right. He could have pulled in so many voters, been the real anti-war candidate, opposed to our proxy war in Ukraine, opposed to backing Israel in this war. And instead, as was pointed out earlier by Destiny, and I think he was right about this, that there's really nowhere else to go for a political candidate because Donald Trump is out there saying, I'll be even better for Israel. And then RFK is going around with Rabbi Shmuley and letting everybody know that he'll be even more pro-Israel. And there's this enormous contingency that is appalled by what's going on over there and wants no part of it, certainly not to be funding it. But he, for whatever reason, feels differently. And so I do think it's a real shame.
So it sounds like if RFK Jr. joins Trump, that would basically make this election pro-Israel versus pro-Hamas, especially when you consider that Kamala Harris chose Tampon Tim to be her potential vice president and running mate over Josh Shapiro because he's Jewish. Seems to me that is a very clear line in the sand that the Democratic Party is siding with Hamas. They're siding against Israel. And with that, I don't know why any Jewish person in America would vote for a Democrat this year, or maybe ever again, to be honest with you, but you never know. That decision might have been the final nail in the coffin for Kamala Harris's campaign, and the Jewish community does turn out and vote for Trump this year. Fingers crossed, right? Okay, let's continue. I
want to bring in just some news that's broken while we've been talking, actually. It's quite fascinating. I've got a sort of personal view on this, but Don Lemon, you may remember, who got fired from CNN, and he then got offered a lifeboat by Elon Musk, who said, look, come and do a show for me on X, rather like with Tucker Carlson. So the Don Lemon show was announced quite recently, and he then announced in the last 2 days his first interview was going to be with Elon Musk, technically his employer and certainly his bankroller for the new show. And he did the interview and announced, and it was all going to happen, all going to be revealed, I think, on Monday. And Elon Musk has now cancelled Don Lemon's show because of the way the interview went. which has stunned Don Lemon, who said that he felt it went pretty well. But he said, Elon Musk is mad at me. It doesn't change my relationship with him, except that it'll have to now be on YouTube. X have come out and said the Don Lemon Show is welcome to publish its content on X, but we, like any enterprise, we reserve the right to make decisions about our business partnerships, and after careful consideration, decided not to enter a commercial partnership with the show. I mean, Destiny, Elon Musk is a mercurial character. In my view, he's a genius who's done incredible things, but he has a very thin skin. I mean, I was supposed to interview him in January, was dealing with him directly, was going to go to Austin, and then he saw a clip of me and Zuby where I was criticising his decision to allow Alex Jones back on the platform, which I still think was wrong. And I gave him a mild chiding over it, and he cancelled the interview, just like that, bang, and said he lost all respect for me. Can a guy be the king of free speech in the way that Elon Musk wants us to think he is and do this kind of thing?
I don't think very many people hold freedom of speech as a principle. I think freedom of speech tends to be weaponized by the side that feels like they don't have a voice at any particular moment in time. So right now you see conservatives championing freedom of speech while simultaneously supporting Donald Trump, who said he would want to open up defamation lawsuits against media companies, or he would want to revoke the citizenship of Americans who would set the flag on fire, or he wants to suspend the Constitution to run for office and investigate voter fraud claims, right? I don't think that people have these very principled commitments to freedom of speech. I think that they tend to just weaponize them when they feel like they're not getting their voice heard. I think for a long time for Twitter, conservatives felt that, and honestly, rightfully so. I think that some of the censorship stuff that was being exercised across a lot of the social media platforms was pretty heavy-handed, and I think thankfully a lot of policies have started to be rolled back. So like YouTube doesn't censor people as aggressively as they used to. That being said, if you look at Elon Musk, you should have known from day one, as soon as the Twitter files dropped in the way that they did, where Elon Musk basically brought in a bunch of PR journalists to go over files that his employees would make available for him, for them to blow up the prior owners of Twitter. You should have known that his commitment to freedom of speech was only insofar as it would serve his needs and his ends. And I think you've seen that show up basically over and over again as he's ran Twitter. So it's no surprise that if he feels like somebody's not giving him the favorable type of coverage that he'd want, that he would probably try to axe these people from his platform, or he wouldn't be interested in working with them in the future.
I mean, Benny, it's pretty extraordinary to cancel a show that you have bankrolled after one show, and it's an interview with you.
So I think we're missing the entire point here, which is the difference between Twitter 1.0 and X, called Twitter 2.0, Elon's Twitter. Twitter 1.0 wasn't just canceling shows. There were no shows, by the way, on Twitter 1.0. They were deleting accounts. They were deleting the voices of people. They were stopping you from speaking. They were deboosting your content. They were making it so people couldn't find you or you couldn't grow on the platform. I was one of those people. I'm in the Twitter files. So is Charlie Kirk. So is a bunch of other people. They banned the sitting president of the United States who had 88 million followers at the time. It's totally different to say I'm in a business relationship with you, and I decided this business relationship doesn't work. Elon Musk does that all the time. He's a very shrewd businessman. That's what makes him the richest man on earth. And so Elon Musk isn't canceling Don Lemon's voice. That would be actually anti-freedom of speech. Anti-freedom of speech isn't I refuse to pay you money because I don't like your content.
I think he's perfectly entitled to cancel the show if he's put money into it.
Right.
Of course he is. It's the optics of it to me are a little bit like, come on, Elon. You know, you do it. You give this guy a show, you do an interview, and whatever went. I mean, everyone will watch that interview now. But how bad was it really to justify canceling the show?
Also, Twitter still deboosts content. They deboost whole platforms that people do. Like if you do a Substack link in your Twitter post because Elon's so mad about Substack trying to compete with Twitter, they'll literally deboost that tweet. So this still happens. The algorithm is open source.
Well, Dave Smith, let me bring in you on something else that's broken, which is the US House of Representatives has approved a landmark bill that could see TikTok banned in America. This has been a raging issue for quite some time. Growing concern about China's influence over TikTok, despite TikTok saying that they have a US entity that's very separate. 150 million people in America use TikTok. It is the #1 news source for people under 24, I think, now in the world. Is it actually a good thing if America bans TikTok, or is it a bad thing?
No, I mean, I think it's horrible. At least the text of the legislation that I had seen as of yesterday, and I'm not sure if that's changed as it passed today. But this Thomas Massie, who is, I believe, the best congressman in the country, he was sounding the alarm bells on this, and that the language is so vague and so slippery that it would give the government the ability to control all types of different social media sites and to censor all types of content. And keep in mind that the US federal government has been trying to regulate the internet and censor people online for years, from back when they attempted with SOPA to the net neutrality stuff, to all of the stuff we learned of in the Twitter files, where the FBI and even the CIA are coming in and talking about which accounts they want to be banned and asking Twitter why this person is still on there, and things where it was just people during the COVID lockdown saying like, hey, I don't think these lockdowns work, or hey, I don't think this vaccine actually does stop you from getting COVID. My point is, many of the people who were vindicated and turned out to be right. And so, yeah, I think there's a real problem with TikTok. But you don't think they were vindicated to be right, Destiny, when they said the vaccine
No, of course
wouldn't
not.
stop
The
you from
vast
getting
majority
it?
of the COVID conspiracies were absolutely false. There is no worldwide vaccine passport
Oh,
mandate. There aren't all these people
most,
dying from vaccines.
listen,
there wasn't created a bioweapons
I'm not
lab in Ukraine.
okay, but you're arguing with something I didn't say. I'm saying the official narrative was that it didn't come from the lab. If you get the vaccine, you cannot get it and you cannot transmit it. These were huge stories that were flatly wrong. No, you're shaking your head. That's not wrong.
The official position of the NIH or the government was not that if you get vaccinated, you will never transmit it and you will never get sick. I know that there is the one quote that people. Yes, I'm aware that there's the one quote, but for anybody that honestly followed any of that or saw all of the statements, nobody actually thought that. It is unfathomable to me that people that will make so many excuses for every single Trump gaffe will come out and take like 7 words quoted by the president.
What excuse have I made
oh my
for
God,
Trump?
They said the vaccine was 100% effective. It would never. That's unbelievable. Nobody really thought that. That's an unbelievable position.
Fine.
But also, the only thing I was finding is the idea that all these people were
nobody really thought it, but the
vindicated.
president. Okay, you're right. First off, I haven't made any excuses for Trump gaffes. I think you're just trying to create something that you assume is me. But nobody said it, nobody thought it, except the president of the United States of America and Fauci. You're right. Nobody else ever said that you can't get COVID.
You need more than one sentence of a thing to see if they genuinely thought that the vaccine would be 100% prevent. Like, none of our vaccines are 100% effective or prevent the transmission of 100% of a disease if you caught it. There's no vaccine like that.
Can I just say, chaps?
So they shouldn't have said that then.
Can I say, chaps, you have all 3 of you lived up to every expectation as a collective unit. So thank you very much indeed.
So that was pretty good. I love it anytime Jabberjaw Destiny gets roasted by pretty much anybody. But Dave Smith, he's really come to grow on me. I wasn't a big fan after the Libertarian convention when apparently he was supposed to be the front runner for their presidential candidate, and then he backed out because of family reasons or whatever. That aside, then he talked junk on Trump, and I just wasn't a fan. I didn't like what he had to say. I didn't like the hypocrisy that was kind of coming out of his mouth at the time. And then, funny enough, the Libertarian Party went and nominated one of the most woke candidates in history, and who is now completely irrelevant, right? But since then, Dave Smith has really impressed me, to be honest. I'm a fan now, and Benny Johnson is always good. And anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And a reminder, no live this Saturday. It's fantasy football season, and my draft is, of course, on Saturday. Couldn't get it changed. So anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video.